When you think of the grooming gangs disease that's taken hold in the UK, a lot of you will automatically think of cities and towns such as Rotherham and Oldham. But somehow Bradford has gotten away with not being part of this conversation for far too long. So in this video, I'm going to be dragging Bradford kicking and screaming into the grooming gangs conversation because that city, I'm telling you right now, has a lot to answer for. Hey up everyone and welcome to Political Nerds. I'm Steph the Alter Nerd, your nerdy political guide from Washington DC to Westminster and beyond. In this video, I'm going to be dragging Bradford kicking and screaming into the national grooming gangs conversation because that city, best believe, has a lot to answer for. Now, before I jump into it, of course, do your own research, come to your own conclusions. And as a disclaimer, I'm not inciting hatred to anyone or particular group, religion, etc. So let's start off first and foremost with this tweet right here from Charlie Peters, who's a national reporter for GB News. And he's saying the Keighley MP, Robbie Moore, and solicitor David Greenwood today presented evidence to the Home Office that 72,000 children may have been at risk of grooming gangs across Bradford from 1996 to today. Now, Sammy Woodhouse, she retweeted this and said, "You ain't ready for the scale of Bradford." And seriously, she's right. You are not ready for the scale of what's been going on in that city. Because I actually tweeted Sammy back and I said, I have spoken to a Bradford magistrate who essentially told me that it's an absolute epidemic there. It's 100 times worse than places like Rotherham and Oldham. But I wonder, how has Bradford gotten away with not being a part of this conversation when it comes to grooming gangs for so long? How have they gotten away with that? Because again, think about it. When you think of the grooming gangs disease that we've got in the UK, a lot of you automatically think of cities and towns such as Rotherham and Oldham, but somehow Bradford's not thought of as much. But Bradford might actually be the freaking worst one out of the lot. Think about it. Literally, Keighley MP Robbie Moore presenting evidence to the Home Office. Over 70,000 children in Bradford were at least at risk of these grooming gangs. 72,000 children. Bradford has gotten away with this for far too long. But this is the thing, right? There have been warnings over the years that Bradford is not innocent in any of this, in any way, shape or form. Take this clip here. Now, thanks to Boudica's daughters at Boudica's Army for sharing this clip. You've got a young woman from Bradford in the panel, in the audience right here, and she's raising the problem that Bradford has got. Check out the reaction that she gets from the audience and the panel that's on the stage. It's despicable.
I know it's probably an unpopular view, but I completely agree that it is, in some areas, largely rape is committed by Muslims. Because, no, I grew up in Bradford, all right? And in that kind of environment, it is mainly Asian men, not because it's something about their culture, but because they're not getting caught. Like, I've had friends who've been raped and the police have told them that because it's an Asian man that's done it, probably not going to catch them. But it happens all the time.
Yeah. And now she's being vindicated because the Casey reports come out confirming that, yeah, the majority of them, 2/3, are from the Muslim faith. Yeah, when this brave lass brought it up on this programme, she got shouted down, she got jeered at. They didn't take her seriously at all. Well, I bet they're taking her seriously now. Now, here is another clip. Now, this is from Robbie Moore. And he was speaking to a brave lass called Fiona Goddard. She was sexually abused by grooming gangs in Bradford from the age of 14. Hear what she has to say about it. She's also from Bradford, but she's a child victim of these monsters.
Obviously, Fiona, you've come down for News Night. We've got that tonight. Good Morning Britain tomorrow. We've had the announcement today on the grooming gangs inquiry finally. But what does this make you feel like? Because you've been campaigning on this issue for quite a long time, since removing your anonymity.
It feels like it's been going on forever, but I never wanted to give up because there's a lot of people, like I've been lucky. I thought and I've been able to build my life up. Some people haven't been able to. I don't want to just sit back and watch things happen and not be able to try and make a difference to them people that can't do it for themselves.
And you are like seriously, you're doing that absolutely through every spoken word you're giving at the moment, through every conversation you're having. Like, I always remember the first meeting I had in Keighley with some constituents and their family, and they'd been through it, and it was horrendous listening to it. And I remember saying to my team, we are going to go full bore on making sure that we keep talking about this until we're reassured and you're reassured that we've been doing the right thing. We still don't know whether Bradford or Keighley is going to be included. What would you say to Susan Hinchcliffe as the leader of Bradford?
I get quite insulted because Susan Hinchcliffe tends to use my serious case review as a reason not to do any further investigations. I think she just needs to hold her hands up and accept that things went wrong, and that it's better to have an open book and have it all out on the table. People are going to be so much more accepting if someone just says, do you know what, we did wrong, we are going to fix this, and then they become an open book for it. The scale in Bradford would probably put every other city that's already had inquiries to shame, which is a scary thought really, and it's scary that it hasn't been acknowledged. Bradford was actually the first place to be brought up to do with grooming and grooming gangs, and that was years ago with Anne Cryer. This has been ongoing about Bradford for ages, and we still don't seem to be that much closer to actually having a deep dive into the issues in Bradford.
What would your absolute key message be right now to the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary?
The first thing he needs to do is work on building up the trust that he has lost from the victims. Not just him, but all the governments that have been and gone in the last 20 years. Like, there's been a multitude of failings one after another. He now needs to focus on rebuilding up the trust of these victims so they will engage with this inquiry. He needs to focus on letting them know that they weren't in the wrong, that they have been failed, that they won't be failed again. This government needs to put a lot into rebuilding the bridges.
It's been massive.
Yep. So you've just heard, right, from an actual child victim of the grooming gangs in Bradford. You've heard from this brave lass right here, who is from Bradford, who wasn't a victim, but knew of victims of the grooming gangs in Bradford. Now tell me there's not a dirty problem in Bradford. Try and tell me there's not a dirty problem in Bradford. Especially when you've got Keighley MP Robbie Moore and Solicitor David Greenwood presenting evidence to the Home Office that 72,000 children may have been at risk of these grooming gangs in Bradford for decades. So, when it comes to the national conversation about the grooming gangs, why aren't we talking about Bradford? Why aren't we talking about that city? Why is Bradford somehow being forgotten about in this whole conversation? When by her own words, right, Fiona turned round and said, when Bradford is exposed, the true nightmare, dirty, disgusting, horrific reality of Bradford, when that's exposed when it comes to grooming gangs, she said it herself. Rest is just going to be put to shame. It's 100 times worse in Bradford, in other words. Bradford has gotten away with not being included in the national conversation when it comes to grooming gangs for far too long. It's time that officials and the leaders in that city, in Bradford, stop hiding. And it's time for the truth. The ugly, nightmarish truth to come out once and for all. Because I do believe that Bradford has a lot to answer for. And it's only when they are dragged into the light for all to see, then we'll start getting the truth. And I don't think it's going to be for the faint-hearted. So hold on to your butts, strengthen your stomachs, because sadly, I don't think we've heard nothing yet. Like Fiona says, Bradford will put every other inquiry to shame. Bradford is 100 times worse than anything we've heard of so far when it comes to grooming gangs. Well, do you know what? It's time to drag Bradford out into the open and force them to tell the truth as to what's really been going on in that city when it comes to grooming gangs. With that being said, if you appreciated this video and you want more, and of course, when it comes to the grooming gangs disease, unfortunately, there is going to be more. So if you want to be kept updated and know the truth about what's really going on, do make sure you subscribe to join our Alter Nerd tribe here at Political Nerds. Like, share, comment down below your opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever. Do you think Bradford's gotten away with it for far too long? Do you suspect that what's been going on in Bradford will be 100 times worse than what we've heard about when it comes to places like Rotherham and Oldham? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I appreciate all your faces. And until the next time, you guys, laters.